I now give the floor to the representative of the Islamic Republic of Iran.
In the name of God, the compassionate and merciful, we appreciate the Secretary General for his briefing and his contribution to this meeting. We express our sincere appreciation to the Russian Federation and China for supporting the convening of this emergency meeting of the Security Council to address the manifest aggression committed by the United States and Israeli regime. I also thank those Council members, in particular China, Pakistan, and the Russian Federation, who have today taken principled position in condemnation of this unlawful act. And it is regrettable that some members of this body, in a blatant double standard, disregarded the flagrant act of aggression committed by the US and Israel on Iran and condemn Iran for using its inherent right to self-defense on the UN Charter. Mr. President, this morning the United States regime jointly and in coordination with the Israeli regime initiated an unprovoked and premeditated aggression against the Islamic Republic of Iran for the second time in the recent months, while deliberately attacking civilian populated areas in multiple large cities of Iran where millions of people reside. As a result of this brutal armed attack, hundreds of civilians have been killed and injured. The aggression and atrocious crime of the United States regime and the Israeli regime and the deliberate and persistent targeting of civilian infrastructure are going. In addition to the numerous civilian residential buildings, the aggressors have also targeted a school in the city of Minab, Hormozgan province, killing more than 100 children. The number of innocent civilians continues to rise. This is not only an act of aggression, it is a war crime and a crime against humanity. Yet today, once again, the representative of the United States, through a regrettable pattern, has attempted to distort facts and rely on misinformation to justify the blatant aggression of the United States and Israel against my country. The facts, however, are unequivocal. The justifications advanced by the representative of the United States today are illegal and entirely devoid of legal foundation. The baseless allegations invoked to defend this unlawful use of force have no standing under international law. The invocation of preemptive attack claims of imminent threats or other substantiated political claims cannot legitimize aggression. Such claims are unfounded legally, morally, and politically, and they contradicted the clear principles of the Charter of the United Nations. I also categorically reject the assertion made by the representative of France, the United Kingdom, and certain other Western members regarding Iran's peaceful nuclear program. These claims lack a factual and legal basis. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of the Israeli regime have openly claimed responsibility for this act of aggression and have explicitly articulated regime change as their objective, an unmistakable admission of their intent to violate Iran's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The President of the United States has falsely described this aggression as necessary to neutralize an imminent threat to the American people. This is nothing more than a deliberate attempt to mislead the international community and the US public opinion and manufacture consent for unlawful war. Similarly, the representative of the United States has cynically sought to mislead this council, yet history provides ample documentation that the foreign policy of the United States has repeatedly relied on unlawful force, covert intervention, and political manipulation to alter the governments of other member states. This record is well established. The reality is clear and undeniable. What is taking place today against my country by the United States and the terrorist regime of Israel is a blatant act of aggression, a full-fledged violation of international law. No justification, no accusation, no narrative of disinformation can legitimize or excuse this manifest crime and aggression. Mr. President, we have communicated on several occasions with this Council and the Secretary General about warmongering statement and interfering actions in the internal affairs of Iran by the President of the US in a blatant violation of the UN Charter and international law, and called for the Council action. Regrettably, all were unanswered. The issue before the Council is straightforward: whether any member state may, including a permanent member of this Council, through the use of force, coercion, or aggression, determine the political future of another state or impose control over its affairs. International law and the Charter are explicit on this matter. Article 2, paragraph 4 of the Charter categorically prohibits the threats of use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. Mr. President, against this backdrop, I would like to make the following points. 1. What is occurring against my country is a clear act of aggression. It is an open armed aggression against the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States and Israel war today is not merely a war against Iran. It is a war against the Charter of the United Nations, a war against international law, and a war against the international legal order upon which the United Nations and the Security Council have been built for over 8 decades. As the Charter affirms, the United Nations was established to save succeeding generations from a scourge of war. The Charter, adopted in 1945, is founded upon this fundamental principle. Members shall refrain from threat or use of force in international relations. The sole exception is the inherent right of self-defense under Article 51, and only in the event of an armed attack. The military aggression carried out by the United States and Israel satisfies none of the criteria of lawful self-defense. Accordingly, the action of the United States and Israel constitute a manifest violation of Article 2, a peremptory norms and a fundamental principle of international law accepted by all member states. Neither the Charter nor international law recognize internal matters of states as justification for the use of force by other states. Were this otherwise, no international legal order could endure. The rule of law would be replaced by the rule of force. 2. In responding to aggression and large-scale war, the Islamic Republic of Iran is exercising its inherent and lawful right of self-defense under Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations. The armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran are utilizing all their necessary defensive capabilities and means to confront this criminal aggression and deter the hostile acts. Consequently, all bases, facilities, and assets of the hostile forces in the region shall be regarded as legitimate military objective within the framework of Iran's lawful exercise of self-defense. Iran will continue to exercise its right of self-defense decisively and without hesitation until the aggression ceases in full and unequivocal terms. 3. Iran remains firmly committed to respecting the sovereignty and territorial integrity of its neighboring countries. Under no circumstances will we target the sovereignty, people, or interests of our neighboring countries in the Persian Gulf. Our legitimate response have been directed solely and exclusively at the bases and assets of the hostile government of the United States that operate beyond the control of the host states. priority has been given to the targets that diminish the aggressor capability and capacity to continue its malign actions. We had previously and formally conveyed this warning to the Secretary General and the Security Council. 4. Despite continuous U.S. hostile policy, we were sincerely and seriously pursuing the path of diplomacy and dialogue to reach a just, fair, and sustainable agreement. Yet, for the second time in the midst of the negotiation, the United States betrayed diplomacy and resorted to force and launched an attack against my country in blatant violation of Charter of the United Nations, presently interfering in Iran's internal affairs. They are even calling on the people to riot against their own government. The recent record of the United States toward Iran is equally clear. Since January 2025, the U.S. administration again reinstated the hostile approach, including the policy of so-called maximum pressure and economic strangulation through sweeping sanctions. The General Assembly has repeatedly voted by overwhelming majorities against such unilateral coercive measures. The objective of these illegal measures has been transparent, unconditional surrender. Despite repeated warning by Iran to the Secretary General and the Council regarding serious violation of the Charter by a permanent member, the Council has regrettably failed to discharge its primary responsibility, allowing the erosion of the rule of law in favor of the rule of force. 5. Just as the Israeli regime succeeded in dragging the United States into the quagmire of war with Iran, the United States in turn is deliberately seeking to expand the scope of the conflict by exploiting spaces in the Persian Gulf region. The hostile U.S. government dream of swallowing Iran and forcing the Islamic Republic of Iran into submission will never be realized. This war, before being a contest of military equipment and advanced technologies, is a battle of wills, and in that battle, the Islamic Republic of Iran will prevail. Furthermore, the Islamic Republic of Iran has repeatedly affirmed its commitment to diplomacy and negotiation. However, it will never submit to pressure, coercion, or force. Diplomacy has rules and principles. It cannot coexist with aggression. 6. The duty of Council members is to defend international law and specifically the Charter. They are not called upon to judge the political system of states, nor to determine whether military aggression or economic siege leads to freedom or domination. Expression of concerns and empty condemnation are not sufficient. The Council must act. Pursuant to Article 39 of the Charter, the Security Council must immediately determine the United States and Israeli regime have committed an act of aggression and demand the immediate cessation of its unlawful use of force, including any explicit or implicit threats against Iran, and require binding assurance of non-repetition. Affirm that the United States and Israeli regime bear full international responsibility for all materials and moral damage inflicted upon the infrastructure and facilities of the Islamic Republic of Iran and are obligated to provide full reparation. Let me conclude, Mr. President, with a simple and undeniable truth. Israel and the United States have attacked Iran. They have violated international law and the Charter of the United Nations. They must be held accountable. So long as this aggression continues, Iran will continue to exercise its inherent right of self-defense firmly, proportionately, and without hesitation until the aggression ends. The Security Council must act now and stop this act of aggression immediately. Silence is complicity in this crime. I thank you.